The following is paid programming.
It's time to talk taxes.
New friends, new opportunities, new partners. EG Tax.
It's Ask the Tax Lady with Esther Gulius and EG Tax on News Radio 930 WBEN. To reach Esther now, call 803-0930. Toll free at 1-800-616-9236. And cell calls are free at star 930. And now, live from the WBEN studios, it's Esther Gulius.
Hello, my darlings. This is the Tax Lady, and, we got stuff to talk about today to keep you abreast of, because even though tax season's over, stuff is happening now in 2017 that is going to affect your 2017 return because of what just happened this last week. So, and that's our teaser. I'm Esther Gulius, the Tax Lady from EG Tax, 8030930, 8030930, star 930 on a cell phone. And I have Tiffany Fabian in studio. Hey, Tiff.
Hey there, Esther. Teasers are good.
Teasers are good. And Christopher Fabian.
Hello, Esther.
Hey, so I think last week when you were at some picnic last week, Chris. Did you have a nice time?
I did. One of my cousin's 50th birthday, so...
Wow.
And he threw a party for himself.
How can a cousin have a 50th birthday party, Chris? That means
that means I'm almost there, too.
I was going to say. Okay, well, we're going to talk about, and by the way, last Wednesday, there was a great outpouring of residents on Lake Ontario shoreline that came out to Porter-on-the-Lake for the meeting so that they could be told about what the state is proposing, what the federal government is hopefully going to propose to help some of these Niagara County Lake Ontario shoreline residents who've lost so much of their backyard and some of their houses and some of their structures, about what they can do. And I will tell you, I have been, and Chris, we were calling appraisers,
yep.
Because not only is the state of New York kind of ponying up and giving some money to the residents, but the federal government, if FEMA gets involved, and I guess we're waiting for the governor to write a letter to President Trump. He must not like him very much because he hasn't written the letter. But as soon as that is done, then the residents on Lake Ontario will have a federally declared disaster area. Right now it's a New York State declared disaster area. And so not only will they get the grants from the state and federal, but they possibly would qualify for a casualty loss. And that was our problem, because you had to quantify the decrease in the fair market value before the lake filled up with water and all the land went away, and after you lost half of your backyard, what was the decrease in fair market value? So we couldn't, we were having a really hard time, right, Chris, getting an appraisal.
Yeah, no one really wanted, towns didn't know what to do, appraisal companies didn't know what to do, because there was nothing to make a comparison to.
Right. But Gar Associates in Amherst has said that, for those of you that live on Lake Ontario, or someone that does, they're stepping up to the plate, and they're offering to do the appraisals so that people would qualify for casualty loss. Now, let me explain why this is important. And by the way, it's important for those of you that had flooded basements this last week as well, because anytime there's a sudden event not due to neglect, not due to wear and tear, the sudden event that you couldn't foresee, like last Thursday when the basements filled up with water because of all the torrential rains that we had. So it's not just the Lake Ontario people, but anybody who lost, maybe your roof caved in or your basement filled up with water. Now you got to replace your hot water tank and your furnace. What you need to establish is how much did your home devalue due to this catastrophe, okay? And so let me put it to you this way. Let's say you have a house on Lake Ontario, and in December, before the rains, et cetera, your house was worth $300,000. Then the rains came, and your backyard, half of it was gone, and you lost your fire pit, and you lost your shed, and all that, and your grounds and your trees and all that stuff. And let's say after the disaster happened, or if your basement filled up with water because of the rain that just happened. Let's say the decrease in value is $50,000. Well, that would mean that you have a casualty loss. If the state, let's say the state gives you $10,000, now your casualty loss went from $50,000 to $40,000. If you're in the 25% bracket, federal, then you save $10,000 in income tax on the federal. And if you're in the 8% New York State, you're going to save $3,200 to New York State. So you're going to save $13,200 in taxes. Now, if it's a federally declared disaster area, then that's great, because what's their options then?
You can amend your prior year's return, so you don't have to wait for the upcoming tax season. You can go back and do it then, and so that means
you can do it now.
You can do it
2016.
now. Correct. So then you file that return, and you'll get interest on your refund.
The refund.
Yep.
So in this situation, somebody might get $13,200 plus interest, which would also help them if they have to put riprap in their backyard and things of that nature. So you'd have the state, the federal, and the casualty loss. And again, Gar Associates is going to be doing the appraisals. We're so thankful that and they're a great appraisal company. So that's good. And then in Youngstown, Larry White is a councilman there in Youngstown, New York, and there's going to be a meeting here, I think the end of July again, for the Lake Ontario shoreline residents. So we'll have that. We're going to have that available to them as well. So wanted to let you know.
That's really good that because I know you were very determined, and you were on the hunt, and you found the best.
I called all these appraisers, and everybody said, I
hunt.
don't know how much it went down. Well, my gosh, if you don't know, who's going to know?
But you know, what you said is really true. When somebody sells lumber, timber, we always say to them, well, you needed an appraisal before the timber and after the timber. And it's really, really, really hard, especially it's a very difficult position to be in, because a lot of people, after they sold the timber, they didn't know that they needed an appraisal.
That's exactly right. And that's why we're letting you know now. So, and I was explaining to Mr. White yesterday that, you know, there's this casualty loss. And they said, you mean we're going to get the money from the state and money, but that would reduce the casualty loss.
Right.
But the rest, then the federal government gives you back through your tax return as an itemized deduction. So you want to make sure, if you are somebody that suffered loss, or if you know somebody that did, they used to have a backyard and now they don't. You want to make sure that you get a hold of Larry White, or you can call EG Tax at 632-7886, and we'll steer you in the right direction, because we don't want you to suffer any more loss than you have to.
It's so funny. You live by the Wilson Boathouse, and I've had dinner at the Wilson Boathouse many a times, and you said that the docks are underwater.
Underwater, wow. Right. And the restaurant, Wilson Boathouse restaurant basement is full of water. Jeez. And to get to the merchants, you have to kind of take a boat. So I mean, obviously, the other thing is there's a lot of money available through the state of New York for businesses and not for profits too. Right. So again, there are forms to fill out, pretty simple, straightforward forms to fill out. You want to make sure you get those in if you're looking for some help from the state of New York and from the federal government.
That's
okay?
Good.
Okay, I'm Esther Gilius, the tax lady from EG Tax, 803-0930, 803-0930, star 930 on a cell phone. We're going to take a short break, and we're going to kind of switch gears and talk about stuff you can save on vacation and things you should look out for the rest of the year. Love to hear what you have to say, 803-0930, star 930 on a cell phone. See you on the other side.
You're a rich girl, and you're gone too far, 'cause you know it don't matter anyway. You can rely on the old man's money. You can rely.
That's what you think. You know what? You can't rely on the old man's money. You got to make sure that you have money yourself, and that's part of what EG Tax does. So it is true that EG Tax is a tax and accounting firm in Western New York, but we do more than taxes, don't we?
We do.
If you have that big long list, you did
Yep.
that commercial, said that we was going to do oil changes. But
Yeah. We do budgets. We do offer and compromises. On Monday, I'm helping a lady who hasn't filed in 20 years. So we do back taxes. We do budgets. We help you plan for retirement. We help you fill out your STAR form, anything related
Well,
to money.
and then, of course, New York State of Health.
Yeah.
If you're somebody that is struggling with your health insurance, that's an absolute free service that EG Tax offers. We don't pay your premium, but we help you to get signed up.
Yeah.
and
Help you with student loans if you need some guidance heading in the right direction. If you're underwater in your student loans, that's some really good options that we have.
The whole thing is if you have a financial question or something's happening in your life, before you let it happen, just like we were talking
Getting a
about the
divorce.
casualty losses, you want to make sure that you get a second opinion before you go ahead and kind of sign on the dotted line, because once it's signed, there's nothing much we can do, right? But you'd be surprised. I was with a client the other day who was going to do a 1031 exchange. He was going to do a tax-free exchange, and he was going to get out of a bunch of small properties and get into one large property. And he's middle-aged, and he was kind of concerned about putting all of his eggs in one basket. So we talked about that, and we said, well, then instead of doing one big exchange, exchange from little properties into one big one that you'd be the owner on and get rental income, why not buy 4 nicer properties that are going to be easier to manage, have the same asset value, and then as you get older, you might want to sell out of one at a time. And so those are just little things. It's great to have somebody to bounce things over with.
A fresh perspective, a different set of
Thinking
eyes.
thinking outside the box.
Yep.
So in that genre, I love that word, genre. We're kind of talking about vacation tips because, believe it or not, you may be able to take a tax deduction for your vacation. But more than anything, we want to make sure that you don't overpay. So if you have credit cards and you have points, make sure before you go on your vacation that you double check your point balance.
Yep,
right?
That's right.
And if you have credit cards and they're not signed up for points, what should you do, Chris?
Get them. Find a credit card that does do. I mean, especially if you use your credit card a lot and you're getting not points for travel, points for dollars back, points. If you're not getting any rewards, you're using a wrong credit card nowadays because all of them are offering something.
And start using your credit cards. Like some people pay cash or check.
And that's really a great point. What Tiffany's saying is maybe you're somebody that you're driving the car and you say, well, we don't need credit. Well, that's even better because that means that you can charge, let's say you charge during the month $1,000 worth of stuff. At the end of 30 days when the bill comes in, you write a check for the $1,000, but you still get the points on the $1,000 that you charged, even though you paid it off. At the end of the year, then, that would be 12,000 points. Right?
Yep.
And it's like money in the bank. And so if you're somebody that doesn't carry a balance, good for you. Start using your points.
That's exactly right.
And is it taxable income?
Nope.
Not at all.
No.
So that's number one. And the other thing is make sure you check your balances. You want to make sure that if you got 54,000 points and you were just going to pay for an airline ticket, many times if you're buying that airline's that you have the points with, they'll do double points for you. So the airline ticket is even less expensive. So, and again, if you need help with those, kind of how to decipher, give EG Tax a call.
And another thing, if you're using a credit card that doesn't give you points, you might want to switch. You would want to switch to one that does give you points or help you towards a car purchase.
Now, how do you find a credit card that gives you points?
You taught me. You go to like creditcard.com or something,
right?
Yeah.
And it tells you all about all
advantages.
the points.
Promos.
And the coolest thing is if you're somebody that doesn't need the credit.
Right.
Because it's like the interest that the bank is not paying you, the credit card company is. Because they think that you're going to be like the typical American who has to go in, you got a credit card, you're going to run it up. But when you, and by the way, it's good for your credit score too. Yeah. If you have the credit, you use the credit and pay it off every month, it makes your FICO score better.
That's right. We talked about that.
And then discount, those discount websites like Trivago and Travelocity.
My daughter, she's an expert at this. We were at Chicago because she's in college, and we needed a hotel, and she went on to one of those sites that you were just talking about. It's places that have rooms, and they haven't sold out of their rooms, and so they will give you the room. We stayed at a Hard Rock Hotel for like the greatest price, and it was a wonderful hotel. And so
how much off?
It was like a $400 room we got for like $95.
I mean, isn't that remarkable?
Really, really good.
It's interesting because Chris, we were doing something the other day. We were looking at hotel rooms, and we had a meeting out in California. So we went out there, and we were going to spend. I had originally spent, what did I have, $3,800 on hotels, and we sat down and we said, wow, we can do better than this, and we did the same thing for what, $1,800?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, and if you beat off the cockroaches, it wasn't bad. I really can't. No, I mean, and they were wonderful hotel rooms.
Yep. Oh, definitely. I mean, you got to look at the perks of each hotel.
Oh, and that's a great point, because one of the hotels that we stayed at, they didn't offer breakfast. And when you got there, they said it's $15 a day to park. So all of a sudden, the good deal got to be less of a good deal because the breakfast wasn't included and the parking was extra. So that's a great point as well, right?
Yep.
So the whole thing is you got to do your research. And the sad thing is, many times senior people are not so adept at learning how to look for those kind of deals, right?
That's right. Yep. That's right. Like I was talking about my daughter, who is very young, who's very proficient with those sites. And you were going to say,
I was going to say, even you brought up the word senior. How about seniors just asking, do you have a senior discount?
That's true.
Mm-hmm. Hotels have senior discounts. Some different. I'm trying to say, like sometimes amusement parks or different venues
donut
will
shops.
Have.
When we just went on vacation and we were
they had
watching people
they
in
had
front
student
of us.
and
senior
discounts. Student and senior discounts.
Exactly.
And they didn't have it posted.
Yep. So
that's right.
So you had to ask.
Yes. Yep.
You have to, you have to say, do you have senior discounts? Then they're supposed to say, why, you couldn't be a senior, right? Or then you could say, but I could be a student. But all these kind of things, when you're out traveling, you want to make sure that you ask, because you can save a lot of money. And how do you make your vacation tax deductible?
You look for a job, and you network, and you're looking for opportunities, and maybe you're interviewing or finding networking, asking about different jobs. Because
okay, so but the intent of the trip has to be for job hunting, right?
That's right. Well, not all of the trip, whatever.
No,
portion.
but the intent of the trip.
Yes.
In other words, in order to take the airfare out for the person looking for the job, they have to say, the reason I'm going to California is to look for a job.
That's right.
So they would have had pre-lined up
interviews,
their resumes and interviews. But let's say the rest of the family's coming.
Right.
Can they write off the trip?
No. Nope. It's just the person whose intent was to look for a job. And so you really have to have a focus and an intent of going and doing
so
that.
All of that requires pre-planning.
That's
right? So you really got to think about it. But I will tell you, it can really add up. Now, let's say that you're in California for 6 days and 2 of the days are interviewing. Now, the rest of the family can be going to Disneyland or Disney World or whatever it is out there. And you're there for business, and you meet them for dinner. You can still have dinner with them and everything, but you're diligently job hunting. The rest of what they're spending wouldn't be deductible, but your meals, your hotel, your airfare would be deductible, except for the days that you turn back into vacation.
And then some employers, I know a car dealer, he'll take business trips with other members of his team. And so if you take a trip, like a team bonding trip, and you're having meetings, you could deduct a portion of that trip as well, too.
Right.
Yeah.
Team bonding.
Team bonding.
So, and then, and Chris, what kind of documentation should they save?
Who, what, where, when, and how. Basically, I mean, you got where'd you go, when did you go, who did you talk to, what was the result?
Right.
And
why?
And
right, I mean, It's who the why would be. Well, because this was a business meeting. Oh, because I was job hunting, or this was for education. Right, continuing education. The why is extremely important, and you want to make sure you save the documentation.
Yep, get business cards. Easy as to get business cards. Drop off. Don't. Oh well, if I drop off one resume a day, does that count as job hunting when I'm there? Not really.
One of my clients was audited by New York this year, and it used to be that we could send in a copy of the credit card statement, but New York said we're not going to take credit card statements anymore because they wanted individual receipts so that they could see the breakdown of it, of what it was purchased for, so they wouldn't take credit card statements.
So then did the client go back and get the original bill?
Nope, they just lost that portion of the meals and entertainment.
So that's really important for people to know that those little tickies are very important to save up.
Those little tickies are no ticky, no washi is what you say.
Right, that's right. So again, you can save money on vacation. You can maybe make it tax deductible. The whole thing is you want to make sure that you pre-plan as much as possible. And if you're a senior and you don't know what we're talking about and you say, what is a Trivago? Except I see it on TV. You can come in. This time of year, we have time to sit down and show people what the Internet has to offer. It can save you a ton of money. Like Amazon Prime is another is a perfect example of that.
And then I should tell you, yesterday we had 3 clients who called and said that they received phone calls that the IRS is going to come and arrest them.
Oh, they called me this week, too.
So be careful.
That's right. I mean, if the IRS is back on the phone again saying that they're going to arrest you unless you pay them $75,000, it's a scam. It's not true.
Especially if they ask you to pay it in Target gift cards. I haven't seen an IRS audit anybody say, we'll take Target gift cards.
Right.
So,
again, any kind of situation like that, give EG Tax a call because we certainly want to help you. We don't want you to get scammed anywhere. And if you're getting calls from the federal government saying you owe us $75,000, you owe us $10,000, there was a mistake on your return for the last 5 years, it's not true. So we'll be very happy to help you. 8030930, 8030930, star 930 on a cell phone. We're going to take a short break for news. We'll be back on the other side, and we're going to talk about you freelancers who are making money on the side this summer about what to do to save some money. I'll see you on the other side. This is the Jackson 5, right? That's hearkening back. I'm Esther Gulius, the tax lady from EG Tax, 8030930, 8030930, star 930 on your cell phone. We're kind of like going over stuff that you might want to pay attention to, whether you lost things during the flood this last week, your car got flooded over, if you live on Lake Ontario shore or the Niagara River shore and you lost your dock and your boat and all that stuff. Those are casualty losses. We can help you with those. And again, if you're a senior that hasn't been very successful cutting down the expenses for travel, I'm going to tell you those websites really pay off.
I just had to say, we were talking about the client who called and said that the IRS called. Well, she came down to our office because she was so panicked. And I just have to tell you, she was your client. And she said, I told the person who I couldn't understand from far away that I have the world's best accountant. There's no way I have the world's best. And I just thought it was so cute.
Yeah, I mean, they called me this week and said, and that sounds so official.
Yeah.
You've made an error on 13, 14, 15, 16, and 17. Call us right away so we can work out payment arrangements. Yeah. Hello. All right, let's go to the phones. We'll talk to Greg. Hey, Greg, how can we help you, sir?
Hey, question for you on moving expenses.
Yeah.
Bought a condo down in Florida. Going to retire probably in May sometime. And I've been going down there to do some remodeling on the condo, put in a new heat pump and, things that needed to be taken care of. Is any of that deductible for this year?
Okay, Chris, give them the bad news.
Well, are you going to rent it out in the meantime?
No, it's sitting.
So
You tried.
Yep. So unfortunately, no, it's not deductible. You're for moving. It has to be for work. You have to be working there 39 weeks out of a 52-week year, fiscal year, and you're only allowed one trip. So all your trips back and forth, unfortunately.
If it was for job.
All right, so
that
here's
one
the thing,
trip.
Greg. If you were going down to Florida to make repairs on a rental property or income-producing property, then part of the trip that you would have made that would be ordinary and necessary would go to basis right now, but the expenses would be deductible as an itemized deduction. However, that all goes away if it's your personal residence. And so this is going to be your personal residence. So the only thing you can save money on is if you move down to Florida for a job. So what, like Chris and Tiffany was saying, it's a 39-week commitment in the new area in order for your moving expenses to be deductible. So have you thought of getting a job in Florida for a while?
Well, it looks like I'm going to have to.
Well, I mean, I would. How old are you?
64.
Yeah, so you're young, and you're going to get bored with Florida,
The sun.
the sun and the palm trees and all that stuff. But if you spend 39 weeks at your new location and you have moving expenses, then all the expenses to move to Florida are tax deductible.
Okay.
So that's kind of like helping your mind to get around a potential deduction.
And just one trip when you deduct it
Right.
for work.
Okay.
Okay?
We'll make sure that's the big one.
There you go, Greg, and we're going to miss you.
And hey,
what part of Florida?
Greg,
Yes.
I was wondering, do you do credit card points? Are you good at using and navigating those tools?
I not so much for the points. I use exclusively the Discover for the cashback.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
smart.
a lot of
That's
people
smart.
do that. What part of Florida, Greg?
Orlando.
All right. Well, I hope Mickey's good to you. We're going to miss you. Bye-bye. I'm Esther Gulius, the tax lady from EG Tax, 8030930, 8030930, star 930 on cell phone. Now, that's a perfect place for somebody his age to go to pick up a part-time job.
Yep.
Disney's always looking for young seniors to escort kids around and, things of that nature.
Drive the tram.
It'd be perfect.
Yep.
And even if you're working 3 days a week, you might enjoy it. You might enjoy it, and it's a great way to get a tax deduction.
And it's a great place to work. I just have a great time. You're right. When you're in Florida, you sort of feel like you're on vacation if you're working or not.
That's right. All right, but now let's talk about people that are making money because it isn't snowing anymore. Sometimes if it is snowing, you're making money. If you're somebody that started off being maybe a handyman or a painter, you're doing gardening, is that income taxable?
Yes, ma'am. It is.
All right, but even what if you haven't gotten a license, you haven't let anybody know, you're just going around to the neighborhood and cutting grass and doing little odd jobs?
Makes no difference if you don't have a license, but so many clients say to me, but I don't have a license, so it doesn't matter. But it does matter. It is taxable.
Right. And so the important thing to do is to realize if you're holding yourself out for hire and people are paying you, what if they aren't paying you? What if it's just an exchange, Chris? So you cut my grass and I'm your dentist.
That's bartering. That's income.
That's right, and that's income too, right?
Yep.
So even if you barter, you say, I'll give you a discount here if you give me a discount there, that's income on both sides.
Definitely,
right?
definitely. Not only for income tax do you got to be careful, but that's also lot like lawn cutting and maybe a little cleaning business. That's subject to sales tax, and if New York State gets involved and they see you're doing this stuff, you could be in a whole lot of hurt.
A whole lot of trouble. So if you're doing little freelance things, what you need to do is keep track of all your income. And you want to keep track of all the expenses that you incur to make the income. Like, what are some of the things that somebody should know? If
Mileage, using their cell phone,
So travel to go pick up the supplies, to get the gasoline, to go out and solicit somebody, to go out in your vehicle to cut their grass or do their handyman stuff.
Yep, office supplies. If you buy gifts for your clients, if you take them out to lunch or dinner, if you have
I would like to hire that person if they cut your grass and take you out to lunch.
If you have to buy equipment or tools, you can depreciate it or maybe Section 179 it. What were you going to say?
Liability insurance, right?
Liability and the repairs, the trailer, the dumping fees, if you have dumping fees. There's just so much. It's anything and everything that you spend money on.
And then if you come back home and you're doing your bookkeeping, you're sending out your little statements to everybody, and you have a dedicated portion of your home used for your business, then what other deduction you have?
You have an office and potential office and home if it's a room that you solely and exclusively, like you said, use as an office.
Right. Mm-hmm. And so then it would be a percentage of your property taxes, your interest, your homeowner's insurance, the repairs and maintenance to your home, and at 39 and whatever percentage divided by 39 years as depreciation. Or if you're renting, it'd be a percentage of the rent that you're paying.
Yeah. And actually self-employed people have the simplified office and home too.
Right.
Where it's $50 a square foot. So it could, instead of keeping track of the utilities and all that, it's the simplified ways, which could make it a lot easier for you.
And many times that's why we go with the standard mileage rate, because it's better than taking...
Yeah.
And if you're a self-employed person, you could take the health insurance as an adjustment to income, half of your self-employment tax as an adjustment to income, so things you want to consider.
Now, if you're self-employed and you pay somebody under the table to help you... But
good.
But that's not good because you can't deduct it. Mm-hmm. So you're giving them... tax-free income, which it's not. You just heard that.
But then you don't
but
have the
you
benefit.
you don't get to deduct it.
So you're paying the taxes on what they should have paid.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So, and then the other thing is if you have this little handyman small business thing, or maybe you're a nurse, like a visiting nurse, or you go into your home health aid. If somebody's hiring you to go into their home, and they're paying you an hourly rate, they also have to pay your FICA and Medicare, right? So when you're working, if you're a home health care aide, you're going into somebody else's home, they have to put you on a W-2 because, in effect, you're an employee.
Yep, you're a household, and that you have to treat as a household employee.
That's exactly right.
Yep.
And if your little small business is making money, then there's three taxes you're going to owe on that. Maybe 4 taxes. You may have to pay New York State sales tax if it's a taxable thing that you're selling. You may have to pay income tax if you have a net profit. You may have to pay New York State taxes if there's a profit, and Social Security taxes, right?
That's right.
So it's really important that you keep good track of your income and your expenses.
That's exactly right.
Right
now, I'm helping somebody do an audit reexamination, and he's self-employed, and he's like, I'm done. I'm not going to be self-employed after this. He's just really stressed out.
Because of all the 3 taxes, right?
Yep.
All right, and the other thing is that people are doing, and a lot of people are very successful at this, is Airbnb.
Yep.
Now, this is a great way to make extra money. And several of my clients are making $25,000 a year.
Or if you become an Uber driver.
Or an Uber. But can you do Uber now right here?
Yep.
So Airbnb is when you rent out a room and people can come in from out of town and come into your house, and they basically pay you a room rental fee. Mm-hmm. And I understand that it's not so scary because Airbnb rates you as the person providing and rates the person staying there.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense.
Like if they put axe murderer, you probably wouldn't want them in your house.
And then if you're an Uber driver, the Uber driver rates you too, the person who's getting in the backseat of his car.
Right.
And
so these new ways of doing business are all done through your cell phone, and so hotels are not necessarily as popular as they were before because of Airbnb. And if you're somebody that's got an extra room, you'd be surprised. One of my clients who does Airbnb is right here in Williamsville, and I think I said to her, "Why would anybody want to go to Williamsville instead of the Falls?"
Right.
Right.
And what
but
did
she says
say?
they'd rather be in a home environment.
Oh. Wow.
So,
and does she make significant money doing
20-some thousand a year?
Oh.
Yeah, I have a client in Williamsville that does it too, and he's not for it. His wife loves it, and he goes, "I hate going outside because all the dirty looks I get from my neighbors." And
do they know?
Oh yeah, the neighbor, because they still live in the house, but the wife almost turned it into a double, and Airbnb's the other half, and they don't like all these strange cars coming into their neighborhood.
I don't think our neighbor would like it.
No.
Yeah. Well, you don't have an extra room either, so, But it is a very interesting thing. So just in case people don't understand, it's where you actually list your house for rent. People from out of town or maybe in town will rent a room at your home, and that's also rental income.
So is that
but
tax-free?
different than self-employment, right?
That's right.
Chris?
Yep, that's a Schedule E. That's rental, just like a regular rental.
So you
property.
don't owe the FICA on that.
One less tax.
Right. All right. I'm Esther Gullius, the tax lady from EG Tax. 8030930, 8030930, star 930 on a cell phone. We'll talk to you on the other side.
It's been 1 week since you looked at me, cocked your head to the side and said I'm angry. 5 days since you laughed at me, saying get that together, come back and see me. 3 days since
I love that song. I like the beat of that song. Isn't that cool? I don't know what that song is. What is that?
1 Week by Bare Naked Ladies.
1 Week by Bare Naked Ladies.
They're from Buffalo.
No. The
no.
Goo Goo Dolls.
Googly Dolls are. The Google Dolls.
Yep,
Goo Goo Dolls. That's it. All right. So I'm Esther Gullius, the tax lady from EG Tax. 8030930, 8030930, star 930 on the cell phone. And I want to tell you, during the week, if anything comes up, and you aren't sure, just call us. We don't charge you to talk to us. We are very happy to talk to you. You can also email us through our website at egtax.com.
I can tell you during the week I helped several clients who had been trying to get through to the IRS. Unmercifully, they were not able to. And so we called the practitioner line. One time we called the IRS practitioner line. We held for 12 minutes, and they were like, that was the smoothest thing that I have done as it relates to the government in a long time.
Yep,
so
that's right.
Give us a call.
All right. So we were talking about being self-employed. The bottom line is, if you're making money, you got to pay the taxes, and they like it paid in advance, right?
They like their money in equal periodic times.
So just like when you're working and you got a W-2 and your employer's taking it out every week, when you're self-employed, they want it sent in quarterly. And how do you do that, Chris?
Well, you do a 1040 ES or a New York 2015, and you say, oh, I'm going to owe $10,000 this year, and you give them $2,500 a quarter.
Right. And then it's prepaid.
And
everybody's happy.
Yep. Right? And they have a way you could do it, EFTPS, and it could come right out of your checking account.
Well, and then it's very interesting. People say to me, I'm not giving them their money in advance. But then they penalize you because you have to give them your money in advance if you don't want to pay the penalty. All right, then let's talk about this last 10 minutes. The New York State education program, the free tuition, right? So when should people be getting their FAFSA forms in?
ASAP. You should get your FAFSA form in during the summer to hear time, if you can. August would be the deadline, because I know with the new free tuition, first you're going to exhaust all the TAP and the Pell, and then the free tuition slides in.
And what is it, which tax year is used to qualify you for the money?
They go 2 years back. So this time you're going to be using your 2015 tax return.
Right. So, and again, if you're one of our clients, you can just call us and we'll be very happy to give you a copy of your 2015 return. Now, what is the income threshold?
100.
100 starts off at 100,000, and then it's going to work its way up a little.
I know. It's so funny that we're talking about this. I had like two
and it's adjusted gross income.
Two college professors from private schools, and they really are putting the pinch on these private schools. They're just wondering where their future lies.
Believe it or not, there's also there's also aid available to go to a private school, but it's not as lucrative as going to one of the New York State schools. All right, so let's oh yes, sir.
Let's remember too about the New York education. We had the education expert Jeff Boron on, and he said with all the applications going to be filed, it's going to turn out to be a lottery system. It's not everybody's going to get this.
Right. That's exactly
so
right.
First you got to get it in. If you have questions, call Jeff. At 633-1515, and he'll help you. That's what he does. He helps people with college.
Right. Jeff Boron, he's over at the Financial Guys, and he's a specialist in college planning, and he'll help you to and he said many times, he was on our show a couple weeks ago, that the private schools will come up kind of belly up to the bar and give some great scholarships too. So remember, it's only the tuition. So the housing isn't covered.
The fees.
Right? The fees aren't covered, and the books aren't covered.
Yep.
Right?
So he said a normal person, even though if you do qualify, will still spend between $2,000 to $3,000 a year just for books and supplies and fees and all that fun stuff.
All right. So, and the kid has to carry 30 credit hours a year in order to qualify. So if the kid is doing part-time, they're not going to qualify for the free tuition. They have to make that full-time commitment. And the other thing is, let's say that the kid goes to UB for 3 years and gets the tuition assistance for 3 years. How long of a time do they have to stay in New York State before they'd have to pay that back? Do you know?
I want to say 3 years.
3 years, right. So let's say that you had 3 years of assistance from the state of New York to pay for that tuition, and let's say it was $10,000 that they put in for you after the tap and Pell, and you only stay 1 year, then the balance of that money turns into an automatic loan because you didn't fulfill your 3-year commitment to New York State.
Right.
So that's something that I think people have to know about too. Now, can you still do the AOTC, the American Opportunity Tax Credit, if you've done the tuition? You've gotten the free tuition from New York State?
The books and supplies, if there's any books and supplies, but not for tuition.
Well, the tuition that they've paid, you're not going to do, right?
Right.
So you're right. The books and fees that you pay still will qualify for the American Opportunity Tax Credit.
Right.
So if the books are $1,000 and the fees are $1,000, you still have $2,000 that'll qualify for the American Opportunity Tax Credit.
Right, and I think a lot of people will miss that, so you really want to make sure you pay attention to and keep track of.
Now,
the
is that a lot of
books.
money, Chris? How much are we talking about if somebody ends up having $2,000 in qualified expenses?
$2,000.
Right. So if you pay $2,000, the federal government through your and does that include New York State, Chris?
Nope, that's just federal.
Right, so that's about $2,400.
Yep.
So if you paid $2,000 out of pocket, they're in effect going to give you back $2,000 on the federal, $400 in New York State. So this is a very important credit to do on your personal return. It's called the American Opportunity Tax Credit, and it's available to who?
Anybody over the age of 24. If you're under the age of 24, you still get it, but you don't get the refundable portion.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, your parent,
the parents, whoever claims the student as a dependent gets the credit, and as long as your income qualifies,
even if you're under 24.
All right. So if you think about it, on New York State, if your income's under $100,000, you have a kid that's going to carry at least 30 credit hours, and you are on your 2015 tax return, your AGI is under $100,000. Then you want to get your FAFSA in, and then anything that isn't covered except for housing, right? And then there's health fees, right?
Yep.
Health insurance fees. Anything but the housing is going to qualify in addition to the American Opportunity Tax Credit. So you may end up having almost everything paid for in one way or another. So it's it's a great opportunity.
Chris?
One thing too, we were talking about how to save money. I remember when our oldest was going to UB, look at the bills, because UB, and I'm sure it would be all SUNY schools, automatically hit the student with health insurance. So we're talking about $2,500 a year that was added to the bill,
but
you had to fight
the waiver
and fill out a waiver to get it off your bill. But if you don't look and you don't see it, you just spent an extra $10,000 over 4 years.
Right, right. And, and that's how it is with so many things. The squeaky wheel gets oiled, and you have to stand up and be counted and make sure that you are only paying what you absolutely have to pay.
You really got to pay.
Right?
Just like
all
with
right,
your
how
credit
about
card
moms
bills.
and dads that are taking their kids out on these little college trips right now? They're looking at Yale and they're over at Wharton. They're taking their kid to make sure that they like it. Are those trips deductible?
No, ma'am.
No.
Nope, nothing, unfortunately.
So college search trips are not deductible.
So you might want to combine it with the vacation and have a good time.
Not even the AP classes are
Right.
deductible.
Right, because you're not matriculated a student.
Correct.
Right? So and you have to be and so after AOTC comes lifetime learning, which is the next level, which is a credit of 20% up to the first $10,000 in continuing education, and this would be for people that have already exacerbated the first 4 years of continuing education, and they would get that next level, but that would be a non-refundable credit.
It's only a Pac-Man credit.
So it gobbles up your tax liability.
Yep.
That's right.
And can you carry it forward?
No.
No. Right?
Nope. But
Well-
maybe I was just amending a return the other day, and actually the adjustment to income was better than the lifetime. So you want to look at that when you're slotted into that next set of tax credits. You want to see if the adjustment to income might be better than the lifetime.
And I have to tell you, I was thinking by now we'd be really cooking as to what they were going to do with the upcoming tax law changes. I don't know.
I think they're pretty
not
focused
doing
on
so good in
healthcare.
Congress. I mean, they've been talking for 7 years about changing the health care bill. I don't know about that.
And it doesn't seem like they
very
want to.
disappointed. It looks like some of these senators ought to grow some or take some testosterone, I think, because it looks like they don't have any backbone, I'll tell you that. Anyway, if you need any help, if you're getting letters, if you're getting calls from the IRS that they're coming to take your firstborn, it's not true, but that's what EG Tax is there for. You can call us at 632-7886. Our website is egtax.com. You can call us anytime, and we'll straighten out your mess. Don't worry, I had a guy the other day that said, I'm in such a big mess. And he talked to you, Tiff, and he's happy, right? Until next week, I'm Esther Gulius with Chris Fabian and Tiffany Fabian. Have a wonderful summer day. God bless. Bye-bye.